With me now, AFC Wimbledon set-piece coach Andy Parlsow. We're looking ahead to the Charlton Athletic game, but for yourself this week, like Mark Robinson, it's been a year of being in charge with the first team. How have you felt?
It's been really good. It's been fantastic experience so far. I feel as though we've progressed as a collective. We're continuing to do so. It's been one where we've been learning as we go and trying to make incremental and gradual improvements. And it's something we'll look to try and continue to do.
And in terms of improvements with data and so on in your area of what you do, what's really impressed you the most?
In terms of my sort of department, I kept loads of data initially, so I was very meticulous about trying to measure what we were doing against every other team in the league. And to be honest, in terms of the management of my own time, I was worrying way too much about what everyone else and how everyone else was doing, as opposed to focusing on making us as good as we possibly could be. So I haven't kept the data as much probably in the last 6 or 7 months or so. But in terms of our own data, we're improving significantly from where we were. We had a very good start to the season from an attacking perspective, scoring a few goals, probably to an unsustainable level. Petered off a little bit towards the middle of the season, then we've picked up a little bit recently, and it's a case of just trying to make sure every game we go there with a plan to try and exploit the opposition's weaknesses in that department. I think defensively I've been really pleased. We've been very solid. Been 2 goals we conceded from set pieces this season, both against Rotherham away, which is something obviously we'll look to put right next week. But another area we've really looked to try and develop is using the opposition set pieces as our threat. So we have a mantra that it's their set piece, but it's our threat. So we try, and it's one of the reasons why we bring 10 players back to defend corners, is the more we bring back, the more the opposition put forward, the more space there is to go and attack on the counter. And we really try and use their threats as our threats. And as things stand, we've scored 2 on the counter from defensive set pieces this season, and conceded 2, so we're net 0 from a defensive perspective. So we've done okay. We look to do better. We look to continue being solid defensively, but always trying to exploit weaknesses.
That's really interesting, and of course as well, I mean, Rotherham, to be fair, are one of the best teams in the league. But for yourself as well, though, I mean, we've seen Sammy Lander come in as well into his role. How have you found all the attention? Because obviously you're getting requests from all around the world in what you're doing, yeah?
Yeah, I think because it's a little bit different. I say different. It's a little bit more specialised, perhaps. So there's always going to be intrigue when there's something different. People want to know what it's about. It's not something that's as prevalent in the game. Certainly not Sammy's role, but my role is probably growing more in the game. There are more teams that are introducing this sort of department. In terms of attention, it's fine. Really, my job is to help our players to become more of a threat from an attacking perspective and more solid from a defensive perspective. So I don't really get too bothered with all the fuss. I'm not on social media. I don't really do any of that sort of stuff. So it's just a case of making sure I do my job to the best of my ability, really.
That's good to hear. And in terms of this week as well, I think we're all relieved that the transfer window is finally slammed shut. I mean, there's the general opinion around here. You can get to work with the players now properly, yeah? Yeah,
it is the general feeling around here. We want to focus on football matches and winning football matches. So it's a bit of a disruption in the middle of the season, the transfer window, because suddenly your focus goes from focusing on opponents to focusing on opponents with this extra thing of who's going to come in, and we're going to be able to keep hold of him. There's interest in him, his agent saying this, whatever it may be, and it's a focus thief, really. The transfer window, it helps to get some new faces in to reinforce what we need, and for what it's worth, I think we've done good business this window. We've got some really good reinforcements in, and it is pleasing to be back on just on match day focus, yeah.
I mean, for ourselves as well, I mean, we're here on the transfer deadline day. Supporters, understandably, they want to see signings. It's exciting for them, but the amount of work that goes into it and all the things that are going on behind the scenes, it's a lot of work that goes into it, isn't it?
It is, and obviously in history, I've been a fan for my whole life of football, and you don't know what's going on in here, and it always seems when you see it on Sky Sports News, it's so slick. It's bid's gone in, they've agreed personal terms, he's travelling for a medical, he's passed the medical, done. You see the amount of phone calls going back and forth. Is he stuck in traffic? Is there a problem? We're going to get this signed. Is he picking up his phone? Why has he missed the call? Whatever it may be, there's a lot more human elements to it than perhaps we see, and it can be chaotic. And like I said, it's a bit of a focus thief, but it's part of football, isn't it? And like I said, I think we've done good business. I think we've got good people into the building. So it's been positive. But I'm glad it's done.
Absolutely. Of course, our focus is now very much on the South London derby this Saturday. Charlton Athletic away at the Valley. Of course, albeit earlier in the season, we know what it takes to win this. So it's something we're not intimidated at all from.
No, not intimidated in the slightest. It will be a challenge, as it always is. They're a good side. They've got a good squad. It will be a difficult fixture for us, but it's one that we're preparing for like we do every other, and we feel as though we know what we have to do in order to go and get 3 points.
And of course, former Wimbledon and AFC Wimbledon player Jason Newell, now very much part of their coaching staff, came and watched us the other night. What do you think he'd have learned from us? Because we're back scoring goals again. Yeah,
no, it's pleasing. We've managed to find the back of the net as well. Recently, I think we've had spells or games where we've been phenomenal defensively and kept clean sheets without finding that cutting edge, and then we've had other games where we're finding the back of the net, but we're not as solid defensively. And it's a case now of trying to find the performance that merges the two to give us the best possible chance. I think what they would have found coming to watch us on Tuesday night, firstly, is that we don't give up. We found ourselves having a good and a fast start, going 1-0 up, but then within a crazy 5 minutes found ourselves 2-1 down, and that's very typical of this league. If you're not on it for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it may be, you can find the game going completely against you. So that's something for us to learn from. But also we'll try and find a way through. We won't give up. We'll keeping the ball if we have to try and find ways through. If they're going to sit deep and try and frustrate us, we'll keep probing, keep looking to find new angles to try and break through. But we'll never give up. We'll never give in, and we'll keep on trying to find that way.
Brilliant, it's great to hear. But of course, as well for them, they've got George Dobson. He's very much in favour under Johnny Jackson at the moment. For ourselves, though, of course, we've got a lot of competition for places in the midfield area, haven't we?
Yeah, obviously we had Ant out injured previously, and Marshy came in, and then as Ant was coming back, Woody went out injured. Marshy, I think, has been absolutely phenomenal in midfield. I think he's possibly got two man of the matches recently, and he's been running the show. But the way he breaks up play and finds new players, goes and joins in, technically he's been really good. So that's been a massive lift for everyone to have that, because you'd think, given how good Ant and Woody were earlier in the season, to lose one of them would have been difficult. To lose both of them would have been even more difficult. But no, we've got real competition, and when all three are fit, that's a real headache for Robbo. But that's exactly where we want to be.
Well, that's the situation, of course, with Alex Woodyard. He is on the way back. He's been out there this week doing straight line running. Even enjoyed joining in with the celebrations of the 18s winning the Youth Alliance League on one of their goals out there. But I suppose you've got to watch it a little bit, haven't you? Because he did say that there may have to be another scan just to see how he's coming along.
Yeah, we've got to be careful. So yeah, Woody's back running, but he's one that he plays more or less every minute of every game that he plays. He's so important to the team and to the squad, so we have to get him back right. We can't force him back or rush him back early and risk losing him for another 4 or 5 weeks after that by aggravating the injury. We've got to make sure he's right. But in terms of his mentality, he'll be spot on in terms of his recovery and trying to get back. And I think the physios will be begging us to take him back before the injury's up, because he's probably driving them crazy.
Absolutely. In terms of team news at the moment, what kind of shape are we in?
No, we look good from Tuesday night. There's nothing really of concern. Obviously, we've played a lot of football over the last few weeks, going Saturday, Tuesday, non-stop pretty much. But no fresh injury worries. PK's back training and is in contention for selection as well. Prez on his way back recovering. Woody we've already mentioned. Egley's back modified training on Monday as well. So we're starting to shape up nicely again.
So of all of those, Paul Callenby, he really could be involved in the matchday squad this week.
Yeah, he's in full training. He's looking good. He's looking sharp. And again, on PK's personality around the place, it's so important for all the players, because he's a real energiser. He really holds people to account, maintains high standards. He's been great to have around again. And
of course, we wait to see what the team lineup's going to be. But I've seen you just sort of had a meeting with our new striker Sam Cosgrove. Is it possibly going to be that commentator's night for us of having Cosgrave and Cosgrove for us on Saturday?
Yeah, it's something you might have to deal with, I'm afraid. Yeah. But no, Sam's been great since he's come in. I'll be honest, when I heard we were in the market for a striker, I said, please, can we have someone that's at least 6'3"? In the end, we got a 6'5" in, so that's handy. So yeah, I was just having a meeting with him earlier, going through what we do from our set pieces for and against, and where I see him fitting into that. What we'd look to try and get him from an attacking perspective, and how he can help us defensively as well. So yeah, it'd be good to get him involved hopefully on Saturday. And yeah, we'll go from there.
So he's very much in contention to be able to be in the squad for Saturday now.
He'll be in contention. Trained really well today. So we split the group today, the squad today, in terms of recovery and training. So the finishers and those that didn't play on Tuesday night had a full session, whereas the starters and those that played a lot of football recently had more of a recovery day. So we can make sure we're fresh for Saturday.
Good stuff. One final thing to talk about as well, we've already touched upon it, the 18s winning the Youth Alliance South East title this week. I mean, you've been involved with the 18s as well in the past, in previous roles. You must be absolutely delighted for them. It's brilliant from them. A great group of lads, and I know how hard they work, and they've had for want of a better word, disruptive couple of years in terms of coaches, because
So they started off with Rob Tuvey, who came up as assistant manager. I was in and around with them as well, came up with the first team. So James Oliver Pierce took over, now he's up with the first team, so Mike Hamilton's taken over. So it's a credit to the players that they've managed to maintain their focus and keep working at their development, and they've been rewarded. But what I'd say as well is that it's not the end goal for them. That's not a definitive outcome. It's a step along the way of their journey, and the collective success is great. But individually, each of those players has got to make sure they don't use that as a comfort blanket now. Something, well, we've done that, we've won the league. They've got to kick on, continue to challenge themselves, and really focus on their development and trying to get a pro contract.
Absolutely. I mean, if they want a career in the game, they should be looking to push towards you guys in the first team level now, yeah?
Absolutely. We want them knocking on the door saying, you know, I want to be training against Obersal, I want to be training against Jack Redoni, and finding different ways to force their way into contention.
Andy, been really good catching up with you. Best of luck Saturday.
Cheers, Rob. Thank you.